Hello, everybody, and welcome to today's OpenONU Go call. Thanks for joining. As usual, the call is public and recorded and will be shared on YouTube. So please be mindful of the information you share. It will be live and available. So first up, I would like a little update on what's the progress on the software update from Michael. Anything to report here?
There's still not so much progress. I was starting to code the layout of some state machine for the control of the software upgrade procedure. So basically, also there are two different tasks still connected with that. One is connected to the download of the image, which is basically the HTTP request, and the other is the real download to the ONU. And I'm still hoping that for the first task, Holger at a certain time can jump in and take this task, because it's more or less quite independent. And I will go on with the implementation of the real software upgrade process. Yeah, but that is in progress, and Andrea, you supplied the needed means and void control and the according libraries for the usage of the external commands to do so. That is working with our latest tests, so we can use these commands for the integration. I think this is still based on some patch that is outstanding, but nevertheless, with some extra work it can be used.
Yes, so that's a good point. I think I have to take it on myself to get those patches merged. I really haven't not done so because I still do believe that there are plenty of things that we could do better. But maybe the best way to take this approach is to actually merge these, and the next iteration will change them. Effectively, what we're going to do is a POC with the existing code, and then showcase a different one with a different, and then based on the learnings out of this code, we can start maybe taking a look at what could be the next iteration of the protos and things like that. Yeah, I have to give some thoughts to this. I'll get back to everybody on it as soon as I have some time and to really think about it.
Yeah, it's not the most important thing, because we can live with the code that you have prepared. Yeah, but you can consider to, if you should merge that into the official lines, or if we should do it later. Doesn't matter to me.
Okay. Yeah, I'll take a look and think about this. Okay. Maybe people have an opinion. What has been done in the past for these things? So effectively, what we are doing is we're doing an implementation on the existing set of protos. But the issue with that existing set of protos is very apparent, in the sense that there are some like messages that are like too much or wrong. There's missing RPCs, and while it's good enough for a first implementation, it definitely needs a lot of iteration to do it what I could consider properly. So that's my issue. What was done in the past, where while implementing a feature, you found out that some of the protos were wrong. I'm looking for like people that are in the project since a long time. Maybe like you, David, have some thoughts on this.
So when you describe the protos need a lot of work, do you see this as significant changes to the existing protos in terms of modifying the existing RPCs, or do you see this as new RPCs?
And modifying existing.
Modifying existing. And I guess the next question would be, how many people are using these RPCs?
At the moment, effectively nobody, because there was an initial POC. Well, nobody in some sense. So there was an initial POC of the download of the image and the upload of the image from Radisys. That was a while ago on the Python version. The problem is, and so those RPCs I'm not really concerned. The problem is that this change will touch, if the way I'm doing it, it will touch the device object, which is always cause of concern, I guess, within the group.
Well, yeah, because the device object, because this goes back to the conversation we had the other TST meeting where our storage and our communication are using the same object effectively.
Yes.
So you change one thing and the domino is huge.
Yes, I agreed. Agreed, totally agreed.
Yeah. I mean, I kind of wish we had a versioning, API version capability, like, again, referring to Kubernetes, right? So we could label parts of the API, alpha, for example, and then people would expect different continuity around those. But it also would then start to beg the question, are we going to do backwards compatible, right?
Yeah.
Or multiple versions? Are we going to support multiple versions simultaneously? Yeah, I think the biggest worry for me is, how does this affect existing, what we've seen as kind of static models? The minute you modify a static model, you are, it's a major release because everything changes.
Yes, agreed. I know. I know, and it's, as I said, to me this is somewhat of an issue. So that's why I'm asking what was done in the past. I'm totally fine merging existing patches with proper functionality, meaning the functionality is okay. It works. It's just that it can be done a lot better. And I'm okay merging these, saying we will do it better in the next iteration. And so at least maybe we say that 2.6 has these, and then 2.7, we change the whole proto entirely.
Well, again, if you're changing all of the device, you're jumping from 2.6 to 3. Yeah. In terms of Semver, I mean, it's typically agile, right? We're supposed to be agile, right? So if this is good enough, that's fine to merge. I'm just saying, if what you expect to change is, again, some of the core objects, I don't think that's gonna happen in a point release.
I see. The thing
so
is,
the question is, are these changes good enough until we're ready for a 3.0?
Possibly, not like terribly good. Let's say we can live with them. I don't know if an operator can, meaning we should, and that's what I was probably suggesting. Let's maybe do a POC on these changes, like showcase what we're capable of with these changes, and then go back and say, okay, can operators live with this, or should we immediately change stuff? The issue is that in the past, we've done the device changes non-caring too much about this stuff. But maybe we are at a point where we actually should care.
Yeah, considering we've got D2 has a commercial customer on it.
And Turk Telecom too.
May have more impact now. And Turk Telecom too, fair enough. Right? So those changes we might have to adhere to kind of Semver semantics a little better in terms of what we change when we change it.
Yep. Okay. Okay, then maybe we go ahead and yes, go please. Go ahead.
The changes that you are thinking to do, are they improving the performance or they are improving the functionality?
Both, because there's a couple of issues. One of them is that functionality is not like, I guess it was not discussed as much as we thought, and it was not really like, it was a first implementation. But also, right now, what we're doing is that whatever status of the image, like downloading, uploading, activating, download failed, everything like that, is stored within an image object within a device. So every time we change that status, we need to go ahead and change the device, which is not good, because that means etcd read and write on a device object, which is like we use it everywhere for stuff that is not related to the device per se. Because when we start downloading an image to the adapter before even putting it on the device doesn't even know about it, doesn't have to know about it. Volta does, but the device does not, because it does not involve the device yet. So it's both functionality and performance. Effectively, what I'm right now, it is the same way that it was a long time ago with the ports. The ports were a subset of the device object. The image right now, it's the same thing. So what I'm proposing, would be, it will eventually, when I get these proto changes, at least in a sort of way that I can submit them to everybody for review, will be to effectively remove that image from within the device in a mutable way. It will have a reference, the device will have a reference to the image, but it will be an immutable reference, if you get my meaning.
Okay, yeah, got it. Yeah, I'm very, very familiar with this issue. But it's getting more difficult every day to say implement these proto changes on operator side, because every day we get more and more users on the system, and this getting more difficult. So I prefer to make the change say as early as possible. Okay. So if you can do it on 2.7, it's better than doing it on 3. Something.
Is that true even if we make these merge current changes, then make the new changes, including to a device? Make those versions on it. Let's say we merge these changes and call it 2.7. And then we make the changes, including changes to the device object, and call that 3.0. And at that point, say we no longer support 2.7. Does your request to make those changes as soon as possible still hold?
So I'm not. Go ahead, Mike. Sorry.
Go ahead. Sorry. Yeah.
Yeah. So David, the support issue is a complete different thing, because we don't right now have really a support model, meaning we are not backwards compatible at all, never. So
yep.
So effectively, we don't. If we need to agree, and I think we need to agree on like a 2 release support cycle, then it becomes a discussion on what do we do? Do we merge them into .7? Do we merge them into .x? And I think upping the release at that point makes sense, because you know that the backwards compatibility is still there. And it's up to you on when you change your interaction with the system. As Kubernetes does, like we should follow the same model, at least in my opinion. So let's do it like this. Given that the changes are there already or working and are good enough for a first implementation that Michael is doing, I'll polish them up, I'll rebase them, I'll ask for reviews, and let's get those in, because those don't touch the protos at all. This is just implementation stuff. And then after these get merged, I propose my proto changes and see how, and you guys can see how involved they are and how much this would entail in changes to everything. And we decide what to do. To Mahir's point, it is true that right now nobody's using this API because the operators are not, this capability was not there. So nobody integrated with it because nobody could call a download image because there was no implementation of it. So it is true that if we release 2.7 with these APIs and people start implementing it, that would be an issue. So I see Mahir's point saying that it is true that this is a major API change, but nobody was using those APIs before, and they will be if we release with them. Because already I know that, yeah, go ahead, sorry.
Actually, we are using, in Telecom, we are using some of the APIs
okay.
Belong to this process. I don't know because if we are using download image, but we are using activate image and some other
because
APIs.
you have your way of doing it through the OLT. Yes, I forgot about that.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, you remember this. So we are using some of the APIs now currently, but not some of them. Mm-hmm. So Türk Telekom deployment will be affected on this change. But I mean, anyway, we can do it. I mean, if this is the better way, then
okay. Then it goes really into more depth that we should merge as is, because you guys are already using, and then we can propose the changes and discuss with you guys and others what's the best course of action. So I would do it this way. Okay, sounds good. Thanks for the discussion. It was useful. And maybe we should discuss again, as I said, in TST or in other places, a deprecation policy, given that both of our operators right now are going into production. So should probably do that. I'll take a note of it. Okay. Anything else on this topic? Okay. Next up, Girish, what about your PM configs? How's it going?
Yeah, I see my latest change merged, and to me that completes the framework in OpenONU Go. There are a few more group counters like FEC history, Ethernet bridge history. I mean, those can be added in the future, but the framework itself is complete.
Okay.
There are two group counters that are collected right now. One is the optical power and another is unistatus.
Great. Perfect. Anything else that you think it needs to be done as it was discussed last time? No?
Well, I mean, there is some additional work. The Volt-Cuttle doesn't have support to change the group frequency.
Okay.
That should be a minor change. I'll submit a patch for that.
Okay.
And I'll keep adding, additional group counters in separate patches and multiple patches.
Okay, sounds good. Thanks. And I also saw that you put our README in the latest patch. I need to I need to actually give the link to everybody of that patch, because it's important that everybody takes a look at that.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, Torsten was asking. I sent him a PDF version of that, so hopefully that should be useful for testing. There are a few commands in there.
Girish, I put a comment on the patch you merged. Sorry, I checked it yesterday, but I somehow missed to send the reply. So I send it now. So it's a small issue, but please can you check it if you're there?
Sure. Yeah, let me take a look, Mahir. No problem.
It's this comment over here. It's just a naming thing.
Oh,
no,
yeah.
I mean using the wrong map, perhaps.
Yeah, that's an issue, but yeah, I'll fix that. But the thing is, we are not supporting standalone metrics right now, but for sure, that's an issue. Let me fix that in a separate patch.
Okay.
You're right. That's an issue.
Thanks. Okay, so you'll submit a VoltCTL patch for the commands and further announcements. Mahir, I remember you had a list of PMs that you were interested in, or all of these now implemented?
On PM side, I mean, I couldn't catch what you're asking.
I remember last time we discussed a list of
the last time what I was asking was say in default we're enabling all of the counters and collecting counters. So I asked to make this to configurable so we can set this enabled flag to false in any deployment, so we will be able to not collect the ONU counters on default. Because into telecom deployment, they require to close all of the ONU counters to turn off them and don't collect them. But if any issue happens or the operator desires, then it can open the collection of the counters for any specific ONU on demand. So, I mean, in order to develop this, it may be useful to change this default flag with the configuration parameter.
Yeah, there is a flag called grouped, which is set to true right now. It's not configurable. One way to do this would be to read that value from the Helm chart config.
Actually, I think it is better to change the enabled flag for counters, not the group flag, but enabled flag is, I mean, it's true default and hard-coded true for all of the counters.
Yeah, but the enabled flag is per group.
It's per group and it's per counter. Now we have group counters, then we can make group counters. Yeah, you're right.
So are you suggesting that make all the group counters enabled as false?
Yes, in default on startup, the initial configuration should be false for the enable flag.
I have no problem changing that. Does that sound okay to everyone? I mean, that should be a minor change, but what do others think?
Oh, it needs to be configurable. Before we can make the change, because if it's hard coded right now to true, if you hard code it to false, effectively all the work that you have done is useless because, well, there's no way you can.
No, what I mean is there are multiple groups. So the thing is, it's not one counter groups that we have.
Okay.
So it's a single flag. I mean, enable all groups or enable nothing.
Single configuration to enable all groups or enable or disable all of them. If there's another way to turn off the, say, PM collection, then we can do with it. I mean, in code, if there is some global configuration or global flag that controls the collection of the PM counters for the specific one, then we can do via this configuration. But I'm not so familiar with the code, so I think the group flag is enable flag is the correct place. But if there's something else, you can do by this. I mean, the requirement is to disable all of the counters of and on all ONUs on startup. Okay. Then we will activate it on demand by calling update PM config or some APIs like that.
Yeah, good. So the way the current framework works is, I mean, you can have the group counters or standalone metrics. So you cannot have both. So the framework, the OpenONU Go framework currently supports group counters only. I mean, that's how it was implemented in the Python version too. And the way these groups are enabled is by the grouped flag. So if that's set to true, the group counters are enabled, else not. So I think that's a flag that we can allow configurable from the Helm charts.
Okay. I mean, we can do it by another way. So I propose to put another flag, like an enable flag on top of the groups, which will control the collection of the PM counters for all of the groups or all of the sub counters. I mean, this will be a flag that controls the collection of the PM counters. But up to you. I mean.
Sure. Yeah, that's also a good idea. I mean, I can accommodate that.
Okay. Andrea, I have a question for you about that.
Yeah, go ahead.
Is there a requirement for DT side for changing these configurations about PM collection, say in a way that we don't know all of the configurations of the device? I mean, the device PM configuration or updates are done on northbound of the Volta in a way that we should get the all current PM configuration from the KV store. We first we query them and make the changes on them, because in order to make any change in PM configuration, we have to send all PM configuration structure to Volta, and Volta simply overwrites the configuration, PM config structure in the KV store.
So what you're saying is that there is no way you can configure a specific one. You either send the whole structure or nothing.
You don't have the capability to say that I want this group to be turned off, or I want this group's frequency to be updated. You have a huge PM config structure which has all of the groups and all of the counters in it. You have to set this big structure to Volta, and it will overwrite the old one. There is a PM config in device, and it overwrites it. So if you only send one parameter, then your PM config will be one parameter because it overwrites it. So it doesn't go and change. So the API, there is no API on northbound to change specific, say, some specific parameters in the PM config. Is there any requirement on DT side for that?
Not that I know of. Not that I know of, but it can be discussed. I can find out. But to me, it makes sense to have it configurable in a single way. What do you think, Girish?
I'm not sure I got the complete context. You can actually modify specific write-only parameter, parameters on the PM config.
Oh, you can? Or you saying you can or you can't?
We can. I mean, I'm not sure I understood what Maher was saying.
Okay. Could you please check the northbound API of the RW core for PM config update? It has a structure which is called PM configs. You're aware of it?
Yeah.
And when RW core gets this PM config update from the northbound system, it takes this PM config structure and overwrites this on the KV store, then sends it to the adapter. Okay. Then adapter check the differences on its, on the version that is in its cache and the version that just came from RW core, and it's capable of make the change. But on northbound of Volta, you have to send this PM config structure, you know?
I got what you're saying.
Yeah. I have a GUI, for example, user interface, and I click on an ONU and say that let's disable all PM collection for this ONU. So for doing this, I have to go to the Volta, get the all PM config structure, then change the flag. I don't know, for example, group flag on it, and send it back to Volta. So first I have to go query the existing one, then change the parameter, then send it back to Volta. Okay. So
I get what you're saying. I mean, there is no RPC to change, just some unique parameters in the PM config. I mean, it has to fetch the entire PM config, modify some fields on that and push the entire PM config. I see your point. Yeah, that could certainly use some optimization, but how often do you, change this PM config? I mean, these things are usually done once. That's it. I mean, you don't keep changing PM config during your deployment, right?
I mean, because of the requirements I previously mentioned, I mean, on demands going and opening any counter of the ONU or counters, I mean, of the gems, I think in some deployments we need it. So I'm trying to prepare a proposal about this, but if there are some requirements, we can collaborate them and put these requirements also in the document. So I'm asking that if there are no other requirements and only the requirements that we have, then the change will be a small change, a few small APIs that changing only some parameters, not all of the parameters, but some enable flags or durations like that.
I think a merge API for the PM configs makes sense, but I'd like to hear everybody also.
We can talk this on any TSD also. This only asking you if there are some requirements on.
So again, as I said, not that I know of. So at the moment, not that I know of. But if I know the guys at Deutsche Telekom, I think that as soon as we discuss this, they will say it makes sense to have that capability in terms of update instead of replace, which is effectively what it is there right now. Right now, there is a replace mechanism of the configuration. What you're asking is an update. And I think it makes sense.
Yes.
So why not? That's what I'm saying. Why not?
Okay.
Girish, what do you think?
Yeah, I agree with you.
Okay. So if you can, I would say start looking at possibly implementing this replace and see what it's gonna be. I think a new API. So it is actually gonna be backwards compatible.
Yes, the way I'm thinking is I'm preparing another API, but I'm keeping its context as little as possible, not to change everything, not to try to make all kinds of changes in the PM configs, but instead of putting some small APIs like change the frequency, change the, I don't know, enable the groups or enable the PM,
Well,
like that.
well, maybe there is another way, which is you send whatever. Let's say we take a JSON, okay? We take a JSON with a key and a value, or a set of keys and a set of values. And instead of like going in and taking the JSON that we get and replacing the existing JSON with that JSON, we just merge the two JSON, meaning if there is that key, we replace the value. If the key is not there, we set the key. Make sense?
Yeah, maybe. As I said, I don't want to hijack this meeting anymore.
It's okay.
So we can, yeah, okay. If it's okay. It can be, I mean, requirement, as Girish said, the requirements are not too much on this issue. So there are small, a few requirements only, just enabling the flag. Just the operator don't want to, I mean, change the PM configs too much. So I'll try to, I mean, say, simplify the context.
Okay.
Anyway, we can talk this later.
Okay. So I would do it like that. Girish, if you can, just maybe take a look and maybe coordinate with Mahir offline to try it to check this thing. Okay. So Chip is not really here, but I know he submitted a patch for the PBit. For not the PBit mapper, the attribute mask. This one he submitted a patch and was merged. The PBit mapper, he said that he would want to do it. Maybe Michael, you have some more context on why not?
His statement was that somewhere in the standard he found something that states that the set by create values have to be set to 0 as default values. I did not found such a statement in the standard. Anyway, I can understand that he wants to avoid some changes which are not really necessary. So I accepted his comment, and it's just a formal issue that you have to know that the OMC-lib does not or does set by create values always to 0. And if you want to have some other values, then you have to take care for that on your own in the application layer. So if that is known and agreed, then it's fine for me, and we can leave it as it.
Sounds good. Okay. It's fine by me. So you're up for the next one too. Michael, use the OMCI response. Is there any update on that?
I haven't checked recently, but I provided a patch for the Go version. I'm not sure if that is already submitted.
I think it is. I think it was.
I would also hope it is. And I think I have seen that the according patch for the Python version was submitted. So the prerequisites for the ONU adapters are done. And on a certain date, if wanted, then the change on the OLT adapter side could be done.
Okay. Okay, good, perfect. So this we can call it done too. So I also know that Chip was working with Imani on the alarms, but I have no more context than that. So we'll just say that we're gonna wait for Chip to give us some thoughts on that.
Yes, also he made a comment So he made a comment
And
that
yeah, I can update on that.
Oh, okay. Thanks, Imani. Yeah, please go ahead.
I have discussed with the chip, and for the alarm sync and notification task, I need to have support in OMCI lib. For that, he needs to create 2 Jiras. He has already done the changes and provided me a tar file for the OMCI lib. He needs to submit a review for the same.
Okay. So you're good with the changes that he made? Are they working with the stuff that you need to do?
Actually, I have started the task and I am still progressing.
Okay.
So as in when I'm seeing any issues in the OMCI lib, I am discussing with him and he is making the changes.
Okay.
So he had given me the patch yesterday and one change was requested. I requested one change to him
Mhm.
and he has given me the new tar file which I have to incorporate now.
Okay. Perfect. That's great.
Yeah.
Thanks a lot. And I think that you can take some inspiration from what Girish has done for the PMs because there's some, I would say, similar code that, at least in some sense, could be reused
Yeah,
or at least.
I had a discussion with Michael regarding that, and basically we decided that we can skip the FSM approach and take that approach because that can be easily incorporated here.
Okay. Perfect.
So basically, I have to create multiple user stories,
Hmm.
multiple subtasks, because it's a huge task if we see it as a combine. So it needs to be divided into multiple tasks. I have started implementing the basic framework,
Okay.
and along with that, I'll create the Jiras for the subtask as well.
Thanks. That's perfect, actually. Great. Anything you need from us? Any help? Anything? Just let us know, and we'll give you whatever we can.
Okay, sure. Right now, nothing as I'm still progressing. So I'll discuss with you later if anything is required.
Okay. Thanks. Perfect. Okay. So next up, I know Theo's on the line. He has started the work to move BBSIM to OMCI LibGo, and he has made some huge progress. So Theo, why don't you go ahead and share some of your findings and thoughts?
Yeah, I don't have much to report. I completely replaced the OMCI sim library with the OMCI libgo. Things are working fine, meaning that I can run the sanity test using the new version of BBSim. The only thing I'm still struggling with is that using the library, I cannot report multiple ports, but only one. So I think that happens during the MIB upload. We're reporting the physical PTP. So when we report the PPTP, the library actually doesn't allow us to set the ME instance ID. And so if I understood things correctly, the adapter thinks we are reporting the same library, the same port 4 times instead of 4 different ports. Could that be the case of the issue?
I am going to defer this one to more OMCI experts.
yeah, I think Chip is not there. Have you discussed the problem with Chip already?
There is an ongoing email thread I haven't followed up in the last couple of days because I was busy on other tasks.
I'm here. I just joined. I finished up my other meeting.
Hey,
Hey,
Chip,
Chip.
great timing.
Okay, but I haven't looked into this. I think you should be able to set the ME, and I remember that conversation, but I think that must have been like on a Friday, and I completely forgot about it. So my apologies.
Oh, no worries. I've been stuck on other stuff anyway.
But there should be a way to set the instance ID. So let me try to. I think I remember where that thread is. So let me see if I can do some unit test code.
Oh, okay, thanks. But just to confirm at a high level, the ports, the uni ports are reported to the ONU adapter via the PPTP message. Is that correct? Or
yes, either that or the VTEP. So either one.
Yes.
So the PPTP uni is probably the most common.
Yeah. Depending which kind of port you're reporting, but for now we only support PPTP. Okay, and that happens as part of the MIB upload. Yeah,
and I've got the library open. I'm helping Hamani on some alarm stuff, so I can switch over. I'm pretty sure I have unit tests. I can just tweak up and see if I can create multiple.
Okay, if you need, I can send you probably a small unit test that I wrote that generates the packets.
Yeah. So.
Yeah. Anyway, that's it for me. As soon as I get this port thing working, I'll clean up my patch and I'll ask everyone for a review so that we can then build the requested functionalities on top of the library instead of hard-coding them.
Yeah, that makes sense. Okay. That's perfect actually. Matteo, thanks for the update. Okay. The next topic was the BBC requested functionality, but as we said, we're going to wait for that to be merged. And I don't remember what this is. Oh yes, this needs to be discussed. So, Theo, why don't you take the lead on it since you know it very well?
Oh yeah, that's just something I noticed while working on the Helm charts. That basically both the RW core and the OpenOLT adapter chart are reading the service with the format that is in the lower box, while the OpenONU adapter split the service address and the service port into things. Now this makes things a little trickier when managing all the charts at once, because we need to make special cases to configure those parameters. So unless everyone has a good reason not to, I will make a patch for the Helm chart and the adapter to use the same format as the other components.
So they're all going to go to address : port.
Yeah.
Yeah. The separation of service and port, that was something that was done initially and changed later on. So the newer format is Kafka : service : port. Do we have other? I don't say. Because we have Kafka. Is there any reason we need to separate address out? I mean, could it just be Kafka adapter and Kafka cluster and put the values there as opposed to address?
I don't think there is a reason to do that.
We have a level of indentation which we don't really need, but that would be.
Yeah, but I agree with that. I don't know if I really want to go and change all the charts and all the components.
Fair enough.
Actually, it will be only a change in the charts. The only component that needs to
only
change
the
is
charts.
the OpenONU adapter.
It depends. Wow, depends if there's ever going to be any other settings, right? If the Kafka adapter will have other settings other than address, then it makes sense to have the level of indentation. If the only value ever put there is the address, then
Yeah, I wonder if at a certain point we may want to introduce a different timeout for the two.
yeah.
I was thinking the same. I would say we leave it, Theo. Meaning we keep the level of indentation, even though as of right now seems to be useless.
I'm fine with that. The real point of this Jira was not to change that indentation, but to unify service and port into address for the OpenONU adapter, so that it has the same format as all the others.
I would say go ahead for that.
Okay, I'll submit patches sometimes this week.
Okay, thanks. I think that was the last topic on the agenda. Anything else that needs to be discussed? I know that from a testing perspective, there have been some updates. Maybe Torsten, you want to give a few updates to everybody on what's the testing status?
Yeah, there's some small progress in the pipeline, in the Jenkins pipeline, after fixing a small issue in the SSH reconnect. Now it goes through all the test cases without aborting. And hopefully this night we have the first successful run. On the other side, I would like to introduce a test with 2 OLTs and 2 ONUs and PONs, but currently I can't bring up that test because all the ONUs, oh, a difficult word, ONUs will not go up over the state initial MIP downloaded, and whether I know or no, Michael knows why. And maybe Theo, I can ping you according this issue, because I saw in the pipeline, in the nightly pipeline, multiple OLTs are running successfully. And maybe there's only a little hint necessary to solve this. And furthermore, the next step will be the first reconcile test for DT hardware pod. There I'm going on with it. That's all.
Okay. Perfect. Thanks.
Andrea, one update from my side.
Yes.
The last days I gave some support for our testing guys in setting up our Volta 2.6 and scale environment, including the OpenONU adapter. And we had some trouble to come forward with this master version, you know. And I made a patch in the 2.6 adapter. And my question is, do you have any idea why we can't deliver it? What the Jenkins problem is currently?
Good. So I started looking into that this morning, and I thought I found something, and I tried another way of doing that, some implementation. That's what I meant, and it didn't work. I have to go back and look at it, and I'll discuss it with Theo at stand up, and maybe he also has some like top of his mind the thought on why it fails. To me, it's a flag. It's something that we changed in the charts. It's a smaller thing. We just need to find out what that thing is. And again, as I said, I'll keep you posted.
The strange thing is when I make it switch locally to release 2.6 with the kind Volta repo, then it works for me. I don't know what is different in Jenkins.
It does work for me too. There's a couple of things in Jenkins, the registry. There's a couple of other things that change. So it might be some of that. I thought it was the registry, but apparently it wasn't. So again, as I said, I'll take a look with Theo right after the meeting. We have the stand up.
Okay,
So
that would be
our
would be
own
nice.
ONF stand up, and I'll take a look.
Okay.
We'll
And
take a look.
another point is I started implementing the lib audit functionality, the first step we agreed on
Oh, nice.
last week.
Okay, perfect. Great.
Okay. Okay.
How is that going?
So, yeah, I hope I can manage to deliver a patch in the next days.
Okay.
Perfect. Okay, thank you.
Okay, thanks, guys. We're top of the hour, so thanks for the meeting. It was useful. Let's meet again next week, and in the meantime, we have our hands very full of stuff to do, and as usual, let's continue chatting on Slack and on the mailing list. Thanks, everybody. Cheers. Bye bye.